Good morning, my friend, and welcome to the fourth hour. It's great to be share time with you again. I appreciate the time that we shared together. I'm a little bit kind of flustered, I think, is because I was just watching some of this video. I mentioned this very briefly on the program this morning, but this there is incredible video of Scott Jennings on CNN. Here we go. Here we go. This is from pjmedia.com, but they're showing this video on CNN, and they're talking about Pete Hegseth. And Pete Hegseth, I want to make sure, I'm going to stop sharing this. Hold on a second here. Let's try that again. Pete Hegseth is Donald Trump's choice now to be the director of the Defense Department. And if you watch Fox News, you certainly know Pete Hegseth. I think he's known to many. So this is incredible. They were talking about this is Scott Jennings on CNN, and they're talking about Hegseth. And this is Scott Jennings here on the right, and it's pretty incredible. Watch this. Hold on.
Anyone have confidence in the current leadership of the Pentagon and the way the defense situation has been operating for the last several years? I mean, from the Afghanistan pullout, which was an extreme debacle,
Carl
which no one was
Bernstein
held accountable. We've had spy balloons flying over the United States. We built a $300 million pier as a public relations stunt, which wound up killing an American service member. I'd say I've had just about enough of the so-called insiders running the Defense Department. I think we ought to give Pete Hegseth a chance because he's got two
insiders.
All the criticism of him is that he's not the expected Washington pick. And I'm just saying to you that the American people just voted against the expected Washington pick. So he's got 20 years in service, Afghanistan, Iraq, 2 Bronze Stars, Princeton, Harvard. Yeah, he's on TV, but so are the rest of us.
By the way, I think he ought
that
to
list
you just gave is really interesting because you highlighted a bunch of things that
I'm going to let this go for a second here.
Of the country decided on, in the military, their job was just to execute. They execute.
How did it go?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
How did it go?
In terms of the decision making, you're assigning decision making responsibility to the military over things that civilians were responsible for.
So you make a good point. The civilian leadership made decisions, and then the people they put in charge of the Pentagon carried it out, and it was all pretty much a disaster. So now we have a new president who I think got elected in part because of some of those disasters, and he's going to put in some of the non-insiders in charge of not just this.
Yeah, they see, and this is where I think he's right on target. Scott Jennings is absolutely right on target. He is, in choosing Pete Hegseth, I think, which nobody saw that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. They were, even folks who were whose names were out there and being, ballied around, kicked around. There was just a lot of surprise that Pete Hegseth was named. But you just heard Scott Jennings in that clip I played. One of the reasons that I played it for you is because he touched on Hegseth's accomplishments and what he's done. The guy is absolutely incredible. So I think that for those who wanted change and they wanted to see real change, they wanted to see outsider change. That's what we're seeing. So it's pretty amazing. So also, Steve, I guess the more the leftists pretending to be journalists throw fits, the more I think the pick was correct. I don't know. Time will tell, right? Time will tell. We'll see what winds up. I don't know Pete Hegseth. I know of him like many of you do. I've seen him a number of times, but I've got to say I was ignorant about his military service and his military background and his career. And the more I learn about him, the more impressed that I am. I mean, these are not easy accomplishments. I mean, he is an accomplished person. So I think there's a lot about Pete Hegseth to be admired, and I'm rooting for him. Let's give him a chance. Let's see where it goes. But the left melting down on CNN. What else is new? So also, I've got other stories. Vivek Ramaswamy and the Office of Government Accountability. Ramaswamy is saying, yes, this means I'm withdrawing myself from consideration for the pending Senate appointment in Ohio. And he said, whoever Governor DeWine appoints to JD's seat has some big shoes to fill. He's talking about the seat of JD Vance, obviously. So he says, I will help them however I can. But Vivek Ramaswamy is withdrawing himself then from that because he was considering that. He wanted to be considered to fill JD Vance's Senate seat. And with Donald Trump now appointing him to the Office of Government Accountability, he is withdrawing. So I also wanted I had not seen that earlier this morning. So it'll be pretty incredible, I think, to see what happened. Denise is saying that Donald Trump truly learned from his appointments last term. He's making some great picks. See, I'm feeling the same way. I just think it's, Donald Trump is really showing that, and we talked about this, and I have said this on the air. This Donald Trump is different from the Donald Trump who first took office, right? He knows Washington now, and he understands how they work, and he's been there. And they impeached him, they prosecuted him. He has been through a lot of stuff. This is a different Donald Trump than we saw the first time around. And look at his choices. I think you just look at his choices. I talked about that at length on the program this morning, going through those, so that you're aware of what kind of government Donald Trump wants to put in place. And I think it's just it's been really encouraging, at least to me. So there's a today you've got Republicans that will be choosing leadership both in the House and Senate. So they'll be choosing new leadership. And over in the Senate, it's between John Thune, John Cornyn, and Rick Scott, who are both vying for that. And we'll see how that goes. House of Republicans set to do the same thing. So they will be gathering also behind closed doors today to elect their leaders in the next Congress. Speaker Mike Johnson, Steve Scalise, and Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota, all running for their current roles again. There were no stated challengers as of yesterday afternoon, but reports that people are complaining that you have some House Republicans who are complaining. I agree with you, Denise. What you're seeing is the difference between a politician and a businessman. Businessmen can learn from previous mistakes. Politicians blame everyone else. Yeah. And keep repeating their mistakes, even worse at times. And I think that's what's so frustrating. This is Donald Trump now. I want to share this story because Donald Trump is meeting then with Republicans. What would you want Donald Trump to say to Republicans behind closed doors today? So Trump has arrived at the Hyatt Regency, Washington, where the House leadership elections are taking place today. I want to see if Fox News has anything new on this because they're looking at their website. So Trump will meet with Republicans afterward, but there's not anything new regarding this. But Trump Fox News had a headline that led me to believe that, okay, this is a closed door meeting and Fox News is there and we've got video and here's the video of this. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. If it's a closed door meeting, how is Fox News behind closed doors? What would you want Donald Trump to tell Republicans at this meeting today? Because again, some of the stories that I was seeing, coming from some Republicans in the House, it's some of the more of the same crap that we have seen over the course of the last 4 years going on among Republicans in the House. What would you want Donald Trump to tell Republicans behind closed doors? I mean, I hope he tells them to knock it off. Knock it off. Now, you guys need to come together, and Mike Johnson's my guy, and those of you who are knock it off, he's the guy. Get behind him. Let's start showing, what would you say to these guys? And I'm curious about that. I hope Donald Trump, seriously, he's a soft-spoken guy. He really is. I mean, even when he gets tough, and he is tough, but he's soft-spoken. So Donald Trump is one of those who's got the ability to be tough, even while he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't shout. He just puts it out there. This is what I want. This is what I expect. And here's what we're going to do. And boom, it's just that simple. So either you're on board or you're not. And I think we're going to find out very, very quickly which Republicans are not on board, because I think they're the ones who are going to be out there bitching and complaining about everything that they see that they don't like and so on. And I've had enough of those people. Seriously, this really is an opportunity for Republicans to come together. And if there are complaints, they ought to be. This is one of the problems, I think, and it's a Washington problem, that everybody airs their complaints in the open. No, I mean, why don't folks go behind closed doors and say, hey, I have a real issue with this, and here's my issue, and so on. But everybody, they want to air the complaints in the media. They know they can get cameras, especially if you're being critical. The media loves that kind of stuff. So especially if you're being critical, you get out there and why don't they take those things behind closed doors? I mean, seriously, that's what we need. We need a unified It's even more than just Republicans. It's not just the Republican Party. I think you saw that with Donald Trump's, the people he was selecting and the people who voted for him. It's got to be beyond that. So the complaints that folks have, airing that in public, and you and I will know fairly quickly who those folks are. Okay, who are the people who can't keep their mouth shut, that absolutely love the TV cameras, want to carp and complain about everything that they're seeing? The guy is not even been sworn in yet. He's returning to Washington for the first time since he left, meeting with the president today. I just have no patience for those who have no patience. You know what I mean? And it's just, they've gotten used to complaining. And that's what it's just incredible. Edgy said, I think those few Republicans can't toe the party line when it really counts. They need to be told there will be no further support in the next election. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Romney's out. So Romney has already said he's not running for re-election, but certainly those of that, that camp, I would absolutely agree. Yeah, Denise agreed. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, not going to get our country where we want it to be. Let's fix this. And Steve is right. The Republican Party has been a rudderless ship for quite some time. There are a few malcontents that need to be humbled. Yeah, because there were questions about Donald Trump. I mean, with all of the the charges against Trump and was he going to go to jail and what was going to wind up happening. You and I didn't know. So other than Donald Trump, there really was not a clear leader in the Republican Party. There were those that wanted to be. But yeah, it's I don't know that I would say Republicans have been rudderless. And I think part of Denise, you're fine. You're just fine. Forgive me, I got a thought going and I see your comments. But Republicans, I don't know that they have been rudderless, but Donald Trump is a strong leader. And there are those Republicans who have not wanted to get behind Trump. And there are those Republicans who have gotten behind Trump, but they need to know that you're a member, you're a member of Congress, right? And you're working with a lot of other people. You got other, over 400 other members of Congress that you're working with. There are a lot of different points of view that is expected in the House of Representatives, but it's no longer helpful. The bickering, the fighting, that stuff is just not helpful at this point. So you've got a choice. Either you can get behind Donald Trump and you can get behind the Republican Party. You can be part of the instrument of change to make these things happen and get this stuff done, or you can get the hell out of the way and get run over by this stuff. That's really kind of where I'm at as to where some of this is coming from. So I'm tired of the in-party fighting that we have seen. I'm just tired of it. So whether or not that's going to continue, maybe it's too early to tell. Let's wait and see what the day holds. But based on there was a story at Fox News this morning talking about this. And, as of yesterday and last evening, here's what some of the conversations were and what people were saying, and they're getting all worked up. And I thought, first of all, relax. Republicans are in the best position that they have been in for a long time. So let's recognize that and talk about ways to move the country forward rather than, rather than fighting and complaining. It's a little bit crazy, I think. So we'll see where it goes. I'm looking to see all the other news that I wanted to share. I'm not going to put this on screen, but Jack Smith, the special counsel Jack Smith, who's been after Donald Trump with the federal charges against Trump. Jack Smith brought 2 cases against Trump. One was the classified documents. The other, his efforts then to overturn his election loss. Jack Smith now plans to step down. Not just Jack Smith, but also other members of his team. This is according to the New York Times. They reported this yesterday. So Jack Smith stepping down, he's out. And because had he not stepped down, Donald Trump in classic style, he would have been fired. He would have been fired. So it's pretty crazy. Kathy's got an interesting comment here. For too long, the Republicans have wanted to be liked too much. They voted against the party platform to be able to say they can work together with everybody, grab the camera time. And I agree with Steve talking about, said, I'll tell you how it will go. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert will say something insane and double down on it. Matt Gaetz will try to impeach Johnson as speaker, and the media will eat it up. I don't know that it will go that far. Some of the craziness, I will tell you this. I look at a lot of news. When was the last time you saw Marjorie Taylor Greene in the headlines? Or Lauren Boebert? When was the last time you saw either of them making headlines? Yeah, I'm not so sure. Steve, I don't always have the same read on Republicans as you do. Um, so they really haven't been out there much. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that continues. Like I think many of you are. Let's stop being silly. We got serious business to attend to. That's the thing that's always made me so crazy. Drives me about half nuts is we got serious work to do. These are serious times. These are serious issues. Can we stop the fooling around? Yeah, we know the Democrats are, off the rails and we know there's crazy stuff that's going on. Can we just focus on what we need to do to get the job done and stop that? Going out there and picking fights with everybody, and it's not helpful. Doesn't move the American people, the agenda of the American people. It doesn't move that forward. So I just don't have a lot of time for that. Um, um, it's pretty incredible. Jay's Jack Smith. I think Jay is suggesting, yeah, Jack Smith maybe getting a job on MSNBC. It would that would yeah, that would be very much in line, I think, with what we've seen. So that's all I've got for you today. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to ask you to hit that like button as I do every day. More and more of you are doing that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just taking the time to hit the like button, it makes a difference. If you got like-minded friends, tell them about what we're doing. Saying, "Hey, have you listened to this guy? He's a different voice. I'm from Sioux Falls. I'm from South Dakota. This is my hometown. I love it here. Have no, plans to leave South Dakota. I love what I'm doing. I love all of you. I really do. You can't imagine how much I appreciate, the interactions that you and I have. And I love hearing from folks. When I go out and about and I hear from people, they will tell me, like, often, this is what I hear most often from folks when I meet them somewhere. I'm not out and about that much, but I would like to be. In fact, we're going to be planning something, I think, so will give us a chance to be able to actually physically get I don't want to put it quite that way, but be able to get together. We're working on some plans. My 20th anniversary of the host of the morning show is coming up in May. And so I've heard from others who said, yeah, 20 years, that was about the time I was fired. And I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm wrong to point any attention to it. But coming up in May will be the 20th anniversary of me starting the morning show. And we're having some conversations in-house about doing something that would involve you, that we would invite you to. And so stay tuned for that. Again, that we're just in very early conversations about it. But something that excites me for a chance, because as I was saying previously, as I meet folks, majority of them say, I listen all the time, but I would never call the program. They're not comfortable calling, but they listen every day. And those are folks. I'm also grateful for those who call every day. I'm grateful for folks like you. You're here, you're responding, you're reacting. So I'm very, very grateful for all of you. But I also understand that a good number of people will never call the program. They hear me giving the phone number, but they're never going to call. They just don't feel comfortable calling. And I love meeting those folks because all of you, I hope you know how I feel about you. But when I meet people in person, is an opportunity. They've never called. I have an opportunity to say, hey, thank you so much. And I mean this very sincerely. I want to thank you so very much for listening. And then I love getting to know a little bit about them. It's really helpful for me. So I love those chance meetings. And it's why you have heard me say on the air a number of times, hey, if you see me somewhere, please introduce yourself to me. Don't be shy. And when I was at the William Shatner event for law enforcement here recently, I had people who did that, came up and said, "Hey, I listened to the show. I never call in, but I mean, that is the comment that I hear from most people when I get a chance to meet them. Overwhelmingly, the number of people who tell me I listen all the time, but I never call in, and it's nice to meet you. And actually, the pleasure is all mine. So don't ever be afraid if you spot me somewhere to say hello and remind me. But and my memory is terrible. I have a terrible memory. Um, it's not good. So I'm hoping for some improvement in that area. I'm always been terrible with names. I'm pretty good with faces though. So generally when I've seen it, I'm like, I know I've met you before. I recognize that face. I can't come up with a name, but I know the face. But don't be afraid because I just appreciate the chance to say thanks and thank you so much for listening. All right, I've taken up enough time in your day today. Thanks so much for being here. And again, hit the like button before you leave. I appreciate it. Hope to see you again tomorrow. So we'll do it again at 9:30. And so long until then, my friend. Take care.